Hello, and welcome to my virtual presentation, Marital Instability, a comparative study of China and Taiwan. Drawing insights from three distinct interrelated theoretical traditions, namely social and cultural context, resources, and gender, this proposed study utilizes the East Asia Social Survey conducted in China and Taiwan in 1996 and 97 to investigate the determinants of marital instability. By applying existing socioeconomic and sociopolitical structural theories on marital instability, developed primarily in the West, this study shows the relationship of differential levels of socioeconomic development and political climates across Chinese and Taiwanese societies to marital instability at the macro level. This study also examines the cultural determinants of marital instability in societies that have been historically and contemporarily influenced by Confucianism. Confucian cultural legacies such as filial piety, patrilineage, and gender hierarchy principles remain strong. Because of this shared cultural tradition in Confucianism, it becomes possible in this study to investigate cultural roots of marital instability and examine them through the lens of gendered marital roles and gender beliefs. In so doing, the many understudied cultural nuances, either Chinese or Taiwanese, can be analytically compared and contrasted within the unified framework of cultural analysis. A common question regarding my research is why China and Taiwan? A China and Taiwan comparison allows the investigation of how structural forces shape marital instability while the common cultural origin is held constant. This study is able to assess the effects of the legacy of gender egalitarianism, and the study can help project China's future of marital instability as China emulates the patterns of Taiwan. Lastly, this study fills a research void. There is little research exploring this topic. Historically, China and Taiwan have been characterized by low divorce rates. The rise is a recent phenomenon. Large studies have not been conducted until the 1980s with the open door policy, and comparisons across East Asian studies have been overlooked. The current study is designed to use comparable survey data and advanced quantitative methods to systematically model and explore differences and similarities in marital instability in China and Taiwan. The overall objective is to investigate how structural and cultural forces differentially affect marital instability in China and Taiwan and to validate the determinants cross-culturally. Thus, my research questions are as follows. First, do socioeconomic resources affect marital instability similarly in mainland China and Taiwan as implied by the resource theory? If so, do these effects vary by gender? Second, do gendered marital roles affect marital instability differently across the Taiwan Strait? If so, do these effects also vary by gender? Finally, do gender beliefs and other cultural norms affect marital instability in mainland China and Taiwan? If so, are there any gender differences? The data for this proposed study comes from the East Asia Social Survey conducted in China in 1997 and Taiwan in 1996. It features similar sampling methodology, a multi-stage probability sampling through subsequent levels, from city and hinterland to an adult living in a randomized household between the ages of 20 and 65, randomized by birthday. Additionally, a vast majority of the questions are identical. The study assesses married respondents only. Using leastwise deletion, the sample in the study contains 2,420 from China and 2,184 from Taiwan. Ordered logistic regression analyses are used for this study. The dependent variable measuring marital instability was a question whereby respondents were asked, "Have you ever seriously considered divorce after getting married?" Responses were no, hard to say, and yes. The independent variables consisted of control variables, which include gender, age, marital duration, residential children, previously divorced, nuclear family, or urban residence. Socioeconomic resources measured relative resources as wife employed, husband not, or husband employed, wife is not. Wife or husband has more education, wife or husband has higher income and income missing. Marital roles were measured as which spouse has more power in making major decisions, wife more, husband more, or equal power in making major decisions. Independence, whether consent is needed in minor decision making, and which spouse does more housework, wife, husband, or equal time spent doing housework. Gender beliefs were included to measure cultural norms and values. Questions regarding views on separate spheres, traditional caretaker role, husband's career success reflective of wife's, gender roles in housework, marriage and childbearing were asked. Tables are available with the detailed analysis. However, for this presentation, I will be providing a thumbnail sketch of what's going on. It was hypothesized that the magnitude of the relative resources effects will be weaker for China than for Taiwan, as Chinese society is less stratified and more economically homogeneous. This was not supported by the data in that the effects were insignificant for both China and Taiwan. In China and Taiwan, equal decision-making is associated with greater marital instability. It was hypothesized that the magnitude of the effects will be the strongest for China, due largely to China's socialist legacies. This was not supported by the data. The greatest effect of marital instability overall was gender beliefs. The effects of gender beliefs were more robust for Taiwan than for China. Egalitarian gender beliefs are believed to be more widespread in China than in Taiwan because of the stronger dedication to institutionalized gender egalitarianism. The effects were stronger for men than women in terms of relative resources. For Chinese men, having a wife that is the sole employed while the husband is unemployed increases marital instability. However, for Chinese men, having a wife who earns higher income than her husband decreases marital instability, or rather stabilizes the marriage. Having non-traditional gender roles, such as having equal decision-making power, made marriages more stable, according to both Taiwanese men and women's reports. But there were expected societal differences. For example, in China, among men and women, gender role effects did not impact marital instability. In contrast, for Taiwan, gender roles affect marital instability for both men and women. The effects of gender beliefs were stronger for women than men. The implication is quite clear. Gender occupies a unique place in cross-cultural studies on marital instability. Beginning in 1997, the Chinese government implemented more aggressive policies to shut down large-sized, state-owned enterprises that were not efficient, which led to massive layoffs. While the cross-sectional data allowed me to explore the effects of unemployment on marital instability, the data did not capture more dramatic changes in the labor market in reforming China. More attention should be given to the relationship between unemployment and marital instability in future research. The EASS did not interview married couples. As a result, many important spousal characteristics were reported by respondents. This could have caused two types of difficulties in the relative measures used in this study. First of all, spousal reports tend to have reporting biases. Secondly, several relative measures, such as relative dependency, could not be ascertained as the questions were not asked of the respondent on behalf of their spouse. Couple data are clearly preferred in future research. This study found that in societies that promote egalitarian or progressive attitudes, women's labor force participation does not increase marital instability, suggesting that as female labor participation rates continue to increase, marital instability may in fact decline. While socialist egalitarianism thrives in China, it does so under a cloud of patriarchy and traditional Confucian ideals. China's newly developed decentralized sector has company managers setting wages rather than government. Because of this, cultural influence is important and has led to gender bias. If the state's authority declines to a market-based, privately owned economy, then it stands to reason that the legacy of socialist egalitarianism might be undermined. According to Gunderson, countries that have decentralized, market-oriented wage determination, such as Taiwan, also emphasize traditional roles for women in the labor market. Thus, China may find itself in a position whereby women's occupations and wages have greater gender bias, implying that the reactions of egalitarian-minded women would likely result in increased marital instability. Because gender beliefs had the strongest effects, this research should be extended in order to study the processes through which gender beliefs moderate the effects of resources and marital roles on marital instability. Gender ideology functions as a lens through which inequalities in employment and marital roles are viewed. Therefore, the perception of fairness may be a better predictor of marital instability than the extent of the inequalities among couples identified by gender beliefs as traditional, transitional, and egalitarian. Additionally, role fit, the fit between actual and desired roles, could be examined in order to determine if role fit or lack thereof is also a better predictor of marital instability as opposed to the traditional employment and marital role measures alone. Thank you very much for your time and attention.